All right, 43 minutes past the hour. Tiki and Tierney show here on CBS Sports Radio. Clark Judge is with us. He's an analyst for Talk of Fame Network. It's been a while. Clark, what's happening, buddy? Tiki and Tierney, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Awesome.
All's good,
Besides the Broncos, biggest takeaway from yesterday was?
The Saints. I mean, the Saints put together a great game offensively. No, they can't stop anyone, but put 52 points on the board. And now, guys, I'm telling you, look at their schedule. They've got 3 winnable games, very winnable, the next 3 weeks. And you look at that and go, the Saints, when they were down and out, I said they were finished. That was when they were 1-4. They won 3 in a row. Now you look at them and you say they could be. No, they will be 7-4. I mean, do I think they're a playoff threat if and when they get there? No, I don't. They've got too many holes. But the fact of the matter is they've come back from the dead. They're off life support.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when you talk about the Saints and really the NFC South. The Saints, as you just described, the Atlanta Falcons feel like they're like paper champions in a way. The Green Bay Packers, the Carolina Panthers, who are still undefeated. You're asking yourself, how is this team undefeated? And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3-4, they score a ton of points. I mean, it's hard to figure out what's ultimately going to shake out with this NFC South division.
Yeah, although, I mean, I do think Carolina has really asserted itself as one of the best teams out there for the same reason that we saw Denver prevail last night. It's defense. I mean, Tiki knows defense wins championships. We get reminded of it over and over and over again. And you look at that game last night, and I was astonished at how effective Denver was in shutting down that Green Bay passing game. I didn't think it was possible. I saw it and go, okay, these guys are players. I mean, I didn't think Denver would go deep into the playoffs because I don't trust, honestly, it's hard to say this, but I don't trust Peyton Manning at this stage of his career. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks. I understand that. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but at 39, he's not going to get better. He's simply going to get older. And by December, I think he's going to be even a different quarterback than he is now. That said, you know, what do you rely on? Well, they don't have a running game. Until last night, they didn't.
Yep.
And your defense is superb. How long can you rely on a defense to score points? Well, I don't know, but it's working, and it's working for Carolina, too. I mean, Carolina does have a young quarterback and a productive quarterback. They run the ball, and they play defense. That's a pretty good formula.
And that's a pretty fair assessment as well. You know, it seems like the last couple of weeks, even during the summer, I think those of us who really follow the draft and the player movement, I think most of us knew that the Raiders had a few intriguing pieces and that they were on the come. I think they've got a little more depth than we thought. I think they're just better than we thought. Are they a playoff team? I know it's early. It's a mid-season read. Do you look at the Raiders as a team going to the playoffs?
I look at them as a possibility because, guys, take a look outside the division leaders and forget about the AFC South because they're really nowhere in the count.
Yeah.
But take the 3 division leaders other than that division. There are only 2 teams in the AFC with winning records. One is Oakland, and the other is the team they just beat, the New York Jets. So, yeah, I'd say at this point, you look around the AFC landscape and you go, we've got a handful that are really good. We've got Denver and we've got New England. And I think you look at them and say, okay, Denver, New England, and Cincinnati. Those are 3 teams. But Cincinnati, I don't trust in January because they're the Bengals. I mean, they just don't win in January. So now you come down to Denver and New England. Yeah, those are legitimate playoff teams. Who's next? And you look around and say, wow, you know, I thought Pittsburgh was a possibility, and I still think they could be and should be. But they just lost Le'Veon Bell. And so now you think, where's going to be another? Yeah, I think the Jets are a possibility. They didn't look very good yesterday, but Oakland certainly is because Oakland's beginning to build something there. And they've got a quarterback you can trust, unlike the New York Jets.
Man, I tell you, Clark, a little disappointed in you, man. You're better than this. You're resolutely dumping the Bengals on the side of the road. I mean, at what point do you stop latching on to these old, tired, narratives? Come on, they're good.
Yeah, no, I understand because, I mean, they've had some defining games here. Going down to Baltimore and coming from behind and winning, I thought, oh, that's a start for them. The Seattle game, to me, was huge for them. They came back from whatever it was, 9 or 10 points down, fourth quarter, and maybe it was more than that, actually. But they came back on the Seattle Seahawks when that's not supposed to happen. It's just not supposed to happen, and they did it. And now they go on the road, and you're down at Pittsburgh, and that's where they typically lose. The Bengals in the past would have folded. And I look at those 3 games and I say, okay, I'm starting to believe, yeah, these guys are different. I'm starting to believe that this is a different Andy Dalton. He didn't play very well yesterday. They looked nervous, and yet when it mattered, he did play well, and he got him in the end zone. And, yeah, Ben wasn't very good. Doesn't make any difference. They won the game. So can I buy that, yeah, they're going to win some playoff games or a playoff game? Yeah, I can because, as I said, I look around that AFC landscape. there's really nothing else out there besides Denver and New England. There's really nothing out there. So they get a first-round game. Sure, they can win that ball game, but I just don't trust them in big games simply because, as a history major, I believe in history.
All right, just making sure here. We got a lot of affiliates in the state of Ohio. Just wanted to make sure we had their backs a little. Wanted to circle back to that. It's Clark Judge, Analyst, Talk of Fame Network, who's with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio.
Clark, let's bounce over to the NFC, and particularly the NFC North. We just talked about the Green Bay Packers, and we've been saying on this show for about 3 weeks, something just seems a little off with the Packers. Yeah, they were winning games, but there were some question marks surrounding some of those wins. And you look at the Minnesota Vikings, who are sitting at 5-2. They're only a game behind them. They've won every game in the division so far, 3-0. They get a little bit of a challenging schedule coming up. But can the Vikings finally test the Packers in the North?
Can they? Yeah, they can. Will they? I don't think they will. And we have hiccups like this all the time from Green Bay, and the problem with Green Bay, to me, is what was revealed again last night. Where are the issues with them? And to me, it's always been defensively. And yet this year you look at they're a team that allowed the fewest points per game. Oh, these are different Packers, and they're getting after people. They're getting to the pocket. Well, they weren't last night. They didn't get to Manning, and they couldn't stop the run. And honestly, they couldn't stop much of anything. And I think no matter how good Aaron Rodgers is, eventually that's going to get him. It's gotten them in the past, usually when they went up against San Francisco and Colin Kaepernick when they were good. But they couldn't stop anyone, and I think that'll get them again this year. But in terms of that division, I just think they've got more talent than Minnesota. Plus, I look at Aaron Rodgers versus Bridgewater. I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers all the time. Adrian Peterson is a terrific back, but he's not, to me, he's beginning to slip a little bit, which he should. I mean, he's 30 years old.
Yeah.
And, Tiki can tell you, I mean, at that time, I mean, that age, it just
happens.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. That's right. I mean, they're anomalies. I mean, Curtis Martin was an anomaly at 31, but that's the exception. Fred Jackson, the exception, and it happens. And so I look at Minnesota and they just don't have enough talent. There's something missing there. Where Green Bay is, I really still think Green Bay is going to be there in the conference championship game. But what I've seen so far these last 3 weeks, remember, Phillip Rivers went up there, went to Lambeau, and threw for 503 yards against them. And then you look at yesterday and you go, whoa, I mean, Peyton Manning had his way with them, and they ran all over these guys. They've got to plug those holes, but eventually it's going to catch up to you, and it will with Green Bay.
It's funny. I agree with the way you position the NFC North there, but and I agree the Packers are going to win it. But I also think that the Vikings are an ascending team, and the Packers are kind of plateauing out a bit. So it should be fun the next couple of years anyway for the Viking fans, right? They're a good franchise now.
They are a good franchise, and I think they found a quarterback who's productive, and there's a future there. They've got some young players, but again, the problem is you don't have an HE quarterback in Green Bay. You've got one of the best out there who isn't going away, and he's still doing this year. They're 6-1 without Jordy Nelson. You subtracted a primary weapon, and yet they're still rolling on. And as I said, unfortunately, as you mentioned, for Packer fans, the last 3 games, there have been a couple hiccups in there. Yeah, you're right. They've won. I mean, they beat San Diego, but they hung on.
Yeah.
I mean, that came down to the end of the game. And yesterday, I mean, they were throttled.
Yeah. Hey, Clark, we only got about 2 minutes here, but the St. Louis Rams, BT was high on one at the beginning of the season. We kind of lost a little bit of faith, and then Todd Gurley emerges as, I mean, he might be the preeminent running back in the league right now with 4 straight 100-yard games, and he changed the complexion of that team and may save Jeff Fisher's job. Are they a viable contender?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd beware of the Rams. And this fits right along their schedule. They're about a year behind. I know the guys in the front office there thought that 2014 would be the year they'd compete for first in that division. Turns out it wasn't that way. With Todd Gurley, you're right. He's completely changed the make of that ball club. And he's also allowed the Rams to take advantage, to me, of one of the best-kept secrets that they couldn't make use of on the outside. It's Tavon Austin.
Yeah.
Tavon Austin's a terrific playmaker, but he was a guy they couldn't figure out how to use. Stedman Bailey was out there. They couldn't figure out Austin until they get Gurley. And all of a sudden people going, now we may have to stack the box with Gurley. And Austin can run. He can catch. He can do everything. He did that yesterday. But, yeah, Gurley's been the difference. You kind of look at that team and say, geez, imagine if they had a quarterback. Right now it doesn't matter as long as Foles doesn't turn the ball over. They can run, and here we go again. They can play defense. And as long as you can do that, you can stay in ball games. And, again, I think you're going to find the teams that make a difference down the stretch, and the teams we're talking about in the playoffs are the teams that assert themselves defensively.
Clark, appreciate a couple of minutes, man. We'll keep reading you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Great as always, Clark. Appreciate you.